It would be one thing if it were the Pope. Any Omega worth his slick would want to cockworm the Alpha of Alphas. Of course, you couldn't resist it. Even an Alpha would probably roll over for him, or explain how he got all these idiots to wear gay shirts and pretend to be an army all over the place. Oh, yeah, JD could get slick over a real army. That would make sense. He never passes up an opportunity to be around military men, not women, which would be gay. Of course he'd want them to not him. Of course he wants the Pope to not him. He wishes he did. JD can smell the cinnamon sugar plea off the Pope and all the cardinals around him, and they all want JD. They do. No one could help but want to knot his slick hole, especially when he's this close to the edge himself. Yeah, they want it. He knew all that celibacy talk was a lie to make their annoying wives shut up. He wishes he'd thought of it himself. And it's almost like they're negging him now. But better to be negged by a real alpha than his whiny beta wife, of course. They want him so bad. But all JD can think of is the baddest alpha in the room, the one no one could possibly resist. He grinds down, just subtly, trying to push into that warm, wet, needy space without anyone noticing, but that makes him moan. And it's all he can do to turn that moan into some kind of acknowledgement of what the Pope is saying. It's something important, probably. God, it better fucking be important, with how long he's been going on and on about all of it. Probably some woke nonsense about how he's not allowed to make panda bears predators again. Everyone is always on about how predators are bad, and you have to stop them, but JD could use a predator right about now. Anything to distract him from the most powerful alpha energy he's ever encountered. How hard can he grind against his alpha without anyone noticing? They're all old fucks in this room. Maybe they're blind. There was something about that, wasn't there? About how the strongest alphas always go blind when they're old because they fuck so hard they don't need eyes anymore. That sounds right. Maybe they won't see him try to scratch that itch. His chosen alpha though, oh, he should have known. JD could never have been a worthwhile enough Amiga for such an unspeakably powerful alpha. All sleek lines and hard curves and the scent of sunlight. Warm dust in the afternoon. JD doesn't even know if he could find a knot when this alpha isn't cooperating at all. Just sitting stoically like JD isn't rubbing up against him for all he's worth. The Pope is looking at him funny. Yeah, he hurriedly agrees to whatever nonsense this guy is spewing. For being in charge, he's got a lot wrong about God and whatever God wants, which is mostly late-night TV spots, but they probably come out in a moan. Whatever. The Pope's for sure got every Amiga he ever meets, and even most alphas moaning at him, so JD should just lean into it. Yeah, he moans louder, for the Pope, who draws back. Well, that's weird. JD knows he's an extremely desirable Amiga, because all the male Omegas get together and raid each other, and he's consistently the hottest out of all of them. So the Pope should actually be jealous of the alpha that JD's chosen, despite the fact that the persistent fuck won't even press a hard-on against him, let alone not him, like he's waiting for something. Some secret signal JD has to give. Oh, God, is that what the Pope is waiting for, too? Is there some secret Catholic signal no one taught him yet for Omegas to get alphas to knot them? Does he have to do a Bible passage or something? JD's babbling. It's probably not Bible passages, but it's everything related to the Bible he can think of while he's rapidly entering heat like this. Unfair of the Pope to put such a sturdy alpha so close to him, but in the Pope's defense, just seeing his holiness might have sent JD into shock heat. Anyway, everyone here at the Vatican is so hot, so powerful. Jade's babbling Bible passages, hoping to unlock the secret one that lets people into his own secret passage, the line that starts a line forming to knot him. If his chosen alpha won't do it, he'll take every other alpha's knot first and throw him into a jealous rage to prove they're meant to be together. He's babbling like the Pope was babbling earlier, about something that wasn't knots. Well, JD might be babbling about knots, but they all want him to. Everyone wants to knot him except this damn alpha he's chosen, too stubborn to respond. It'd be so easy if you were a female Amiga. No one ever expects them to do anything, but lie there and wait. But male Omegas have it harder than any other sex in the world, having to do all the work of chasing and then having to wait for an alpha to decide they're worth it. But at least everyone else thinks he's worth it. He can tell because they're staring at him. Look at them all, looking at him so intensely, it's like they've never seen an Amiga in heat before. They might not have, he thinks. Clearly, they only allow the Feast of Alphas here in the Vatican, so maybe all these cardinals have never even seen an Omega at all anymore. The thought makes JD feel special. Then he doesn't have to share their knots with anyone. It's like a pizza party all for him. That doesn't explain why they're all the way over there, almost as if they're getting farther away from him with every writhe and moan. No Alpha would be able to resist an Omega if they'd never seen one before. Least of all JD, who's constantly voted top hottest Omega by the other male Omegas. The female Omegas don't know what they're talking about, so of course the Pope won't follow them. Clearly, his intimate knowledge of the Bible isn't working. JD switches tactics. Alphas love being complimented on their money. He can say stuff about how gorgeous the room is, all there to accent his beloved chosen Alpha, who he wishes would bite him and cement the mate forever. It's always his luck to pick Alphas who refuse to bite. He wishes he could tell his Alpha directly how beautiful he is, how nothing in this room could ever compare to his rich color and soft texture, but he can't. All he can do is babble about every gorgeous thing in this room. He starts listing things he sees, throwing his gaze wildly back and forth to make sure he's noted everything. Carpet, walls, the Pope himself. Yes, there's a rich source of begging, no, compliments, for JD to dig into. How beautiful and glowing he looks in his robes. How much JD wants to lick them. Yes, yes, make his Alpha jealous, if it works. He can't seem to break through the wooden demeanor. Fudge it, JD thinks, and starts riding against his Alpha in earnest. If all these other Alphas are so eager to mount him, then they will, and the jealousy will start, or they won't, and they'll leave JD alone with the love of his life, to build their own nest together, however long it takes for his beloved Alpha to get him pregnant with the next generation of popes. He'll do it right here in front of all of them, if they don't have the decency to leave. JD grinds down, hard, finally hitting that sweet spot, the one only male Omegas have because female Omegas don't experience pleasure, and maybe the Pope looks on in jealousy. It's good if he does. That intense stare means something, and JD's not going to pass up the opportunity to prove how much his Alpha should love him. His Alpha is pressed back firm against him, but still with no obvious signs of arousal. It's infuriating. Here JD is doing everything in the world to get this Alpha to knot him, and the Alpha remains just as soft against his ass. It's like the world is conspiring against him. It's like God is conspiring against him, but when he asks the Pope about it, the Pope makes some kind of horrified noise. Which isn't new. He's been doing that the whole time, so it can't matter. JD grips his lover's arms, trying to grind down harder, which is the point at which the cardinals intervene. At first he thinks it's a good thing, these big strong Alphas manhandling him, but then they try to drag him away from his lover. It's jealousy, at first, which is good, but then they try to drag him out of the room, which is so wrong. If they really wanted to make his lover jealous, they do all this in front of him. JD has to fight at the door frame, pressing against it with both feet as they try to drag him, which frames his slick nice and obvious, and yet none of them do anything. He calls out to his lover, who doesn't even move, doesn't do anything to try to win JD back from these barbarians, just sits there, the way he's always done, looking beautiful, but cold. So JD turns to the second most Alpha in the room, and begs the Pope to help him. The Pope has been looking at him more and more intensely this whole time, and must be falling deeply in love by this point, and so JD stares at him. He tries to look come hither, but he's never understood what that meant, and everything that tried to explain it expected him to read multiple sentences, like, in a row. But the Pope makes some awful command. JD suddenly realizes he can't understand it, not because the Pope is saying useless things that are safe to ignore, but because he can't pronounce English words right, and demands he be parted from his lover evermore. JD can't stand that. He shoves the Alphas away, some Alphas, if an Omega is capable of pushing them, right? And runs back into the arms of his lover, sinking into that beautiful embrace, but the Pope wants them parted, still. Why? Is it because they aren't married? It's too fast, too bold of an action. But what is romance if not taking risks? JD demands the Pope marry them right there, so his Alpha can finally knot him, mate him, fill him with the next American cabinet, if not more of the world. The Pope isn't having it. JD can see it in his eyes. He's going to refuse their love because he thinks it isn't pure enough. That's when JD realizes this must not be the real Pope. It's the devil in disguise, because only the devil would disallow his marriage to the most beautiful alpha ever carved. And if the Pope is the devil, all Catholics must be the devil. JD must be the real Pope. He lunges, well aware that there can be only one, or all hope of his church wedding is lost. Hands around the Pope's neck, he realizes that it's not that the Pope isn't real, no, but that JD has transcended Catholicism, has become the founder of a new, greater religion that will allow him and the chair he loves to be bound forever in a union holier than any ever seen before. But first he has to kill the Pope. Hands tear at him, trying to drag him away, and JD wonders if he can get a quick knot in before the Pope dies. But he's burning with the righteousness of the sheer beauty of his love, and he's not going to let go until he gets knotted, or the Pope agrees to marry him and his beloved, or he finally extinguishes this blight against love. And so he chokes and chokes until there's nothing left to choke, and, still unsatisfied, he rushes back to his lover. The chair embraces JD just as he ever did. The feeling is so familiar by now that JD doesn't even mind how cold and unmoved he is. How he just sits there, allowing things to happen, like some sort of irritating beta wife, but with the powerful, sexy energy of someone so much higher up the food chain. At last, JD can grind to his heart's content against the chair he has just, in his own mind, married himself to, as the new Pope. He can still smell the other alphas around him, their rising anger. At last, they understand that they're supposed to be jealous. But he has his husband and lover now, and none can tear them apart, no matter how hard they try. That's when the tasers come out.